One of the things that I'm always interested in, but really getting clear, is how much the hip joint is affecting the spine. I mean, this thing sounds strange to say, or the obvious. But when the energy of the leg pushes into the sacroiliac, it causes a problem of the spine. It's very simple. And so many people, the femur, the head of the femur is too far back in the acetabulum. And how to create space, not this much space, how to create space and bring the head of the femur forward so that the energy comes into the pubic disc instead of into the sacroiliac. And when I say the pubic disc, I'm really saying the pubic symphysis, which carries to the other leg and goes down to the other foot. From this foot comes, so that the base of support is traveling here as far as how we support ourselves on two legs. We don't need to push it up to the head. There's a flow that carries up to the head, but not the weight itself. But if I go like this, I'm carrying the weight force up. Where if I go like this, I have freedom here. So there's a spatial lifting quality rather than a held blocking kind of thing. So this is what I'm wanting to share. This movement of the we were doing in the foreleg as well, that it's carrying into the hip joint and not into here, this kind of thing. Or this kind of thing going into the back. Is there somebody here who has a slight something, maybe in the sacroiliac, but not a major thing? So before that, I'm going to just show these three pictures. So the first one is the capsular ligament. And it gets tight. And how do we bring springiness back when it's held? So for when there's been a hip replacement, what we're going to do now, I think it's better to observe, unless it's someone that you know, who knows you well, who trusts, they're not going to do anything. Yeah, that it's more just holding and supporting, and you do the work inside. So looking at the capsular ligament, and I saw one picture that was interesting. If we took like a balloon that was cut so you couldn't blow it up, you had this balloon that had the bottom end cut, and then you put it around a dowel rod or something, and then put a rubber band around it so that it would be like this thing to hold it. There's a ligament there. I drew a picture. It's called the zona orbicularis, which actually goes around to hold support the capsule there. It would be like the rubber band holding the capsule. It's not a rubber band, but how we can have that support so there's not a tear in it. And then looking at the front and the back, that there are these spirals, that the hip is meant to be a spiral. It's carrying through the ligaments. So before we do something, maybe say a little bit about why you volunteered.
I have mobility in here, and sometimes it fits nicely, but when I'm under stress, it feels like the relationship goes ajar, and then I feel the SI achy. And I also feel the fibula starts to really tighten and not rotate. And the talus.
Okay, we're going to end up doing both sides. So you have to let me know, give feedback, okay? Because I'm actually going to create more space here. So when you're saying more mobility, then I'm starting to think, well, maybe the other side. So there's a delicate question here, so I'm just going to do a little bit. But it can be incredible for relieving the stress to the back.
Because I feel it in like the QL gets tight. And when we were doing the ribs, just now I really felt a big change. But I felt how much tighter it is on this side than the other side.
All right, well, let's see. So, and probably I would have this be a little bit lower. I lifted it because of a pillow, so it's soft. So you have to see. So what I want to do, and you have to tell me if I have it right in your hip. And I'm going to lift. You feel that opening your hip?
Feels nice, yeah.
And then I'm going to release it. So I'm following a rhythm. And now the rhythm is this way. And here's the rhythm right now.
Feels very spongy, nice. And liquidy too, like maybe some liquid's opening up.
So I'm spiraling. I'm not lifting straight up and down. It feels like a straight up and down, but inside, there's this spiraling. And this gives me support into the earth. And sometimes, I don't know if I'll do it, I'll just say sometimes I'll hold it for more than one cycle. But I don't feel like doing that now. So bring your leg down, we'll move the chair, and just see how you feel before, whoops, you should get something that one. Oops. Just before you get up, yeah.
Feels, there's a different range happening, especially here and here. Like different quality, like over the crest bone here. Yeah. Feels like these unspiraling has begun. There's more to go in there.
When you're ready, I'm going to ask that you come to a sit. Normally we would take more time. Yeah, move around into some kind of neutral sitting. You don't just move into it, move into it, no, just make yourself.
Feels really different from each side. Well, it feels like there's a big new cavern on this side underneath, and from the inside of this side of the sacrum feels floating a little bit more than I've ever known before. And more range and no aching, no aching right now.
So we'll go to the other side. I'm grounded here. I don't want to do this. So I'm really doing this. But you don't see it because I'm not making a big movement like this, but that's what's going on inside. The amount of pressure would be if you place your hands on your leg and you feel the connection to yourself to the ground. Do it wherever you are. That you're just feeling the connection. You're not pushing into the ground or pulling. You're feeling the connection. So when I'm here, first of all, to get as much into the hip as I can. And I'm doing this, and I feel the connection. And therefore I feel the flow is now going down. Now I feel the flow coming up. Look, I have two hands, but it's not a lot of, I'm not pulling. I'm spiraling with you. Maybe you can give more feedback how much pressure. Although it's more movement than pressure.
It feels like it's both rising but also rotating. Yeah, there's a sense of weightedness within the quality that you're creating that feels buoyant too.
Yeah, it's reaching these spiral ligaments, and underneath it is the capsule. And I want to, like, these are the outer ligaments, that's the capsular ligament. That's a release of the capsular, that's a release of the outer.
Feels really nice having it done.
Outer, and now this is the capsule.
Could you use a big bolster there rather than a chair? Or do you want the firmness of the chair?
I think that I would want this a little, I don't know if 90, it's a little, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd have to play with it.
But do you want the firmness of the chair there, or could you do
I wanted the
something
height
softer?
of the chair.
Okay.
My couch is good. And again, this is something that would take more time. And so take some time. It's not that you have no time. I do have towels for those of you who want to explore it. It is quite wonderful. It's better to do less than more.
I felt when I first shifted the weight onto the left, this sense of a natural overcurve inside that went from one hip to the other. But it was a very smooth landing on the left. And it feels like there's more of an orbit in terms of, like, say, a universe in there where the planets are moving around. Whereas before they were much closer, now they feel like they're out there. Thank you.
Eventually come to standing, and you're welcome. Thank you. Again, take your time. I think when I say take your time, don't come up mechanically like this thing. It's not to just get the task done, but find a way within a limited time, but that it's spiral in some way inside. Not making it, but allowing it, I guess. Not restricting the natural movement.
Thank you. Feels good.
Bonnie's first intention was to find more space, but Brenda was experiencing that she maybe had a lack of stability there. So there was that hesitation in the beginning, and I was curious about the experience after that. And Bonnie said something about the femur bones, the femur head being almost like it's too far in the socket. Is that
Too far back?
too far into it or into the back?
Well, if it goes too far back, then it's not really in the center, right?
So just
If you have a sphere and you go too far back, you're on a curve. And you have to bring it forward on that curve.
so it's really just finding the center, whether or not it's forward or back.
And that's where you would look at this central ligament of the head of the femur. For me, what clicked was when you talk about recalibrating. That feels very much about recalibrating the tone of the ligaments, the capsule and from the pubis to the femur, from the ilium to the femur, and from the ischium to the femur. Those were all iliofemoral, ischiofemoral, pubofemoral. Because I don't really know what was going on, I was hesitant, because it is powerful to open up that space. And because you said instability, then I felt, well, it probably is back, but I don't know I just don't know, right? So I don't like to do a lot of things that are impacting. I hope everything in a way impacts, but that I'm actually, I have to be very careful that I don't do more, that I do less. So if the person is going in this direction, in their flow, and I do more, I'm going to take over. So if I do less, I'm just going to stay behind them, and they're going to direct where they're going. And this is very, very true for ligaments. It's true for everything, but ligaments are really, if I go ahead, it's going to get taut. It's going to start to go back the other way if I take the lead. Is that clear? So I did ask for somebody who is having some difficulty, although it changed in both hips. So we all really can have more normalizing of tone, probably. And that's going to be specific to each individual, what that normal, someone has, more long ligaments, someone who has tighter ligaments, that normalcy or normal for that person is different. So I was hesitant because I was giving, maybe I can show you, when you asked how much force, I don't want to do that. If I don't do that, if I only do that much, it won't make any difference. I need to get just enough that I can feel, is an Aikido thing, taking out the slack. So if I want to affect my fingers, I just get to the point where I can feel what my fingers, how they're directing the movement. If I go too much, then I'm directing the movement. If I don't do enough, there's no change. So following that fluid rhythm, when the fluid was coming, there's like a release toward me, and then there was a release away. But I needed to keep just enough tone so that I didn't cause a reaction to go opposite to me, but enough that I could augment the direction that you were going. So it's helpful to have to name things, because it's difficult naming how much pressure or how much something. I don't know if that's helpful, but it is a recalibrating.
That focused attention.
That
is
specific.
Specificity and focused attention just allows the expression to come forth.
And it allowed her cells, you, to register their own movement
Right.
that they were initiating. That flow, the ligaments were your ligaments were initiating that movement if I stayed behind them. If I got ahead of them, they would go, oh, that's an outside force, rather than, oh, I'm moving, but I have help, so if you go to lean forward, I can give you just enough that I don't pull you, because if I pull you, you're going to go back in a way, or else give up. There won't be ligament anymore. It'll just be a weight shift. Where if you're going back, if you go to sit, I can give you just enough that I can follow your intent. And we did this first, so that we're not doing this lifting, but that you feel that you're spiraling through your own body, to feel the spiral of the other person. What we're looking at is to find a way to, help me out, there's this word, modulate in some way the tone, the recalibrating. This is giving you a little more space, the feeling quality, and then you go back to where you are. And because you're moving in the rhythm, the cells are initiating the change, not the person holding the towel.
Could you just articulate the rhythm a little bit more? Is that the cellular rhythm or the rhythm of the ligaments specifically?
It's a fluid rhythm. If you start to do it, you'll feel it. There are so many fluid rhythms in the body, I don't know, pick one. Pick the one that you feel. It's some combination that you have together. It's not just that person's rhythm or your rhythm. It's some kind of connection that you make, and there's just a fluidity there. And I don't always, sometimes I sit out, the person will be in there really, and then all of a sudden they have enough rebound that I'll hold it for maybe 2 of those before it gets released. You're looking for the rebound in yourself and the other person. And if you can distinguish between the outer ligaments and the capsule, you don't have to, but that's just another layer of differentiation.